Coming up on the Hustle season finale, we have all the high-flying dunks from the NBA playoffs, and we hit the ice to break down the NHL playoffs. And we strike out the side with the hottest teams in baseball, and of course, your top Hustle plays. All this coming up on the Hustle. Welcome back to the season finale of The Hustle, your home for sports on the go. I'm still your host, Ryan DeFranzo, and joining me is the dynamic duo of Jared McCabe and Sean Gannon. How are we doing, guys?
Pretty sad that the Knicks lost, but we're here and we're pushing through.
Hey, the Celtics are still alive, so that's all I can ask for, right?
And let's tip off the show with the NBA playoffs, and what better place to start than with the Boston Celtics, who advanced to their 6th conference finals in 8 years. Tell us about their run so far.
Yeah, this series, I should say, against Cleveland was all dominated by the Jays, Jason Tatum particularly, which I don't understand why he's still getting all this hate in the media when he leads the team in points, and he's had clutch points in the series. But altogether, the Jays have really led it, but also guys like Jrue Holiday, Derek White, and Big Al Horford stepping up. Just at the end of the day, the Cavs were really only allowed to get really one game in Boston and really struggled at home. So at the end of the day, the Boston just had way too many guys around Cleveland that they couldn't stop.
Yeah, I don't understand why Tatum's getting all this hate. He's leading the team in points, rebounds, and assists. And looking at the Cavs, happy with the season that they had, really surprised by it. Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell, 2 free agents. Going to be very curious to see where they go, who's getting that max contract, who's sticking put, who's going to get traded.
All right, now let's look at two teams who we haven't seen much from in past years, the New York Knicks and Indiana Pacers, giving us one of the most entertaining series in round 2. Give me your thoughts on that, Sean.
Just absolute sadness. Like, I'm from New York. I'm in New York. I'm at a barbecue with all my friends. We're watching the game. And after the first quarter, you could just feel it slowly slip away from the Knicks. There was just no chance for them. It was absolutely brutal. Then you saw Jalen Brunson get injured, and you just knew, oh, my God, it's absolutely over for them. There's no way they're coming back from this. It was an absolute tough one for us. 54% from the 3, 67% for Indiana. You're just not going to beat that.
Sean, this is exactly why you don't flirt with the Game 7, because then in Game 7 in any sport, anything is possible. And at the end of the day, you're the 2 seed. You should be able to kind of close it out on the road, or even that's why you play to get the 2 seed to close it out at Game 7 on your home court. At the end of the day, Indiana just played loose basketball, and they just shot at an absurd rate, over 50% from the field. At the end of the day, you lose Brunson. Josh Hart's not making threes. He's hurt. OG only plays for 2 minutes. At the end of the day, I just think Indiana was just flat out the better team in Game 7.
All right, so we have Boston versus Indiana. The last time these two went head-to-head in the playoffs was 2019. Boston swept that series 4-0. How do you see it playing out this time?
I honestly think this is going to be a tight series. I really do. I think Indiana's a deep team. I think you got to look at Andrew Nembhard, who's the 2 guard for the Pacers. He creates pressure. He plays really well. He's a good shooter. And on the Celtics side, I think you got to look at Jrue Holiday. He plays in 2 ways for this team. If you need him to score 25, he can give you that. If you just need him to lock up the best opposing offensive player for the opposing team, he can do that. I think when you have those 2 type of factors along with the Jays and Al Horford and Derek White, I think the Celtics win in 6.
Look, I think the Celtics are going to get the sweep. They're that good. Got to give a shout out to Pascal Siakam. He's playing great in the playoffs, averaging the most points and rebounds for his team. That's why they brought him in. He won that championship with Toronto. Indiana needed this. They have 7 players averaging 10 points or more in the playoffs. This will be a sweep by the Celtics, but it's not going to be easy.
All right, let's move out west and take a look at the 1 seed Oklahoma City Thunder, who haven't been a 1 seed since 2012, and they go up against an offensive powerhouse in the Dallas Mavericks. These two haven't seen each other in the playoffs since 2016 and 2012. The Thunder taking both those series.
Got to give credit where credit is due to OKC. They got the number 1 seed as they're facing off against the Wolves and the Nuggets late in the season. Look, a lot of fingers are getting pointed at Shai Gilgeous-Alexander for the foul that he had that eventually led to the Mavericks win. But we can't forget 36 points on the night, 56% shooting, had 29 plus points in every single game in the series against Dallas. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is a young and upcoming star. OKC is going to be fine. They have a ton of picks and a ton of young talent.
At the end of the day, OKC, they were just a year too quick, and that's okay. I think at the end of the day, you ran into a buzzsaw of Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic, and Kyrie's playing his best ball since he's played in Cleveland, so they just run into really 2 great players.
All right, now let's take a look at one of the most exciting series you can find in these playoffs. The defending champion Denver Nuggets taking on the tenacious Minnesota Timberwolves. They split their head-to-head matchups 2-2 this season.
Absolutely shocked. Absolutely shocked. The Timberwolves, like the Indiana Pacers, both played like games that, you know what, they were just kind of acting like they just didn't even belong and they just went out and played street basketball. Denver should be shell-shocked. You lost like Game 7 at home, up 20, kind of shocked, but Timberwolves deserved it.
Look, Denver had 34 points from Murray, 35 points from Joker. Only no one scored more than 7 points that weren't named those two guys. You are not going to win if you don't have everybody else around you playing well. Anthony Edwards said it best after the game, damn, I'm trash, 6 for 24. He didn't show up, but guys like Jaden McDaniel and Cat did. It's why the Timberwolves won that game. It's sad for Denver considering that they're the defending champions, but they're going to be totally fine towards the future.
So we take the two underdogs and we pit them against each other in the Western Conference Finals, Mavs and Wolves. Who's going to the finals? Who's watching from their couch?
Look, I'm so happy for the Timberwolves. I love the attitude that they have. I just don't see how they're going to beat this team. The Mavericks have a great defense and even better offense. We've seen guys like Kyrie excel in the playoffs throughout his entire career. He won a championship with Cleveland. Doncic, the last time he was here in 2022, averaged 28-plus points in 4 of the 5 games. Sorry, Timberwolves, not going to be your year.
See, I like the young Timberwolves. I think they're playing with nothing to lose, and a guy to look out for is Naz Reid, their 6th Man of the Year guy. I think they win in 7.
We've seen a lot of crazy finishes throughout the playoffs so far this year, but give me some of your favorite and wildest upsets so far in the playoffs.
Going to go right back to Minnesota, going to go right to the Timberwolves. Look, if you know the state of Minnesota and the history of sports, whether it's the Twins who haven't gone past the divisional round since 2002, the Wild or the North Stars who never even made it to the Stanley Cup championship, or the Minnesota Vikings who lost 4 Super Bowls in the 70s, the Gary Anderson kick in 99, you had the New Orleans Saints in 2011 and the Eagles in 2018. Minnesota doesn't win the big games, and it doesn't happen very often for them. This is a huge upset. I was absolutely shocked. I couldn't believe that they won this game.
Mine's really not an upset. Mine's just like, when is it going to happen? You got the Los Angeles Clippers who have all these aging vets in James Harden, Russell Westbrook. You got Kawhi Leonard on max money. PG-13 is going to be an unrestricted max money. You got Ty Lue, who people tell me he's one of the best coaches in the league, but he only has a championship because of LeBron and Kyrie. At some point, they have to win something at some point. That was just a weird round 1 exit for me.
All right, now before we go, who do you think is going to be raising that Larry O'Brien trophy when the final buzzer goes off?
For me, it's the best team in the league right now, and that's the Boston Celtics, and now all the pressure goes on them. The Denver Nuggets, the defending world champions, are now out. That's the team that everyone thought were going to run into the Boston Celtics and end up steamrolling them. This is their championship to lose. I think the Celtics do get it done. They get past the Pacers, and we'll see who they play in the West.
Yeah, Celtics. Last 10 years, they've been absolutely dominant. This is finally the year they get the job done.
All right, that is going to be a wrap on the NBA playoffs. Jared, Sean, thank you guys for joining me, but don't go anywhere because coming up on The Hustle, we're going to break down your NHL playoffs right after this break.
The Hustle is brought to you by Goodfellas Pizzeria, established in 1999.
Welcome back to The Hustle, your home for sports on the go, and here to talk some hockey with me are the witty personalities of Nia Santinelli and Evan Cormier. How are we feeling, guys?
Boston Bruins with another disappointing postseason run, but that should come as a surprise to nobody.
I'm just happy to talk some NHL. Let's get into it.
All right, so let's drop the puck in the East. Florida versus Boston, a rematch from last year, but what about now?
Yeah, as I mentioned, a surprise to absolutely nobody. This Bruins team just was not good enough. End of story. They took a bad Toronto Maple Leafs team to 7 games. Flags should have went up when they went out and rented Pat Maroon at the deadline. They tried to buy some backbone, buy some pride, buy some toughness, and it just didn't work out, Mia.
Yeah, as you said, the Bruins failed to score more than 2 goals in each of their last 5 games and actually have scored 2 or fewer goals in 8 of the last 9 playoff games altogether. Ultimately, Florida won by bigger margins. They did better with the power play, and ultimately the better team just won.
Now moving on to almost one of the greatest sports stories of all time, but maybe one of the greatest sports chokes of all time, the New York Rangers, Carolina Hurricanes. What even happened in this series?
The Hurricanes had to go through one New York team to get to the other. After defeating the Islanders 4-1, they fell behind in this series, but ultimately lost in the 3rd period of Game 6. 2 overtime matches, a lot of competitive hockey played, but Carolina's goaltending could just not keep up with the likes of Gaudreau, Lafreniere, and among others. And Shesterkin is just a brick wall.
Absolutely, yeah. Rangers fans everywhere need to be thanking the Carolina Hurricanes for slapping some sense into their hockey team that won 10 games in a row. They needed a fall from grace. They needed to come back down to earth, and the Carolina Panthers did just that. They increased the Rangers' odds against the Florida Panthers in this next series by beating them twice.
All right, so we have the two best in the East going head-to-head between the President's Cup Rangers, who haven't won since '94, and the Finals Revenge Tour Panthers, who have never etched their name on the cup, and the last time they faced was 1997, but who comes out victorious this time?
Absolutely. The two best teams advanced. When I look at this series, I see a team that wants to win in the Florida Panthers against a team that absolutely needs to win in the New York Rangers. The Panthers felt the cup last year. They have that taste in their mouth. They're thirsty. The Rangers, on the other hand, they have the entire weight of Manhattan on their shoulders, and I think that's going to be too much to bear.
Two really strong offenses ranking top 3 and 4 in offenses in the playoff series. I think it's going to come down to goalkeeping, and Igor Shesterkin has the most playoff saves by a goalie since establishing himself as a starter in 2021, and the highest save percentage of any goalie with at least 20 playoff starts in that period.
All right, now switching gears a little, let's look in a matchup out west between the Dallas Stars and Colorado Avalanche. The last time they faced in the 2020 playoffs. What about now?
This series ended in dramatic fashion, a double overtime victory for the Stars in Game 6 with a previous disallowed goal in the first overtime period. The Stars have been great away from home ice this postseason, although they have dropped the first game of each series. The lack of scoring for the Avalanche and constantly playing from behind allowed Dallas to continue this journey to the Western Finals.
Yeah, when you look at this Dallas team, if they didn't play in Dallas, Texas, they would be the darlings of the NHL. They've got homegrown talent, they've got big-name veterans, they've got talented young guys. They really showed what they were all about in this series against the most talented team in the league in the Avalanche. Nobody does finesse like the Colorado Avalanche, and the Dallas Stars beat them in 6.
All right, now let's break down the battle for Canada between Edmonton and Vancouver. They haven't played each other in the postseason since 1992. Oilers taking that one 4-1. Who wins it this time?
Absolutely. The NHL should have been selling this series like candy. The Battle of Canada went all 7, and only one single game was decided by more than one single goal. People say they don't make things like Stanley Cup playoff hockey. They don't make anything like it, and this series showed you why they said that. This was hatred and great hockey all combined into one.
Well, the Canucks losing their season-leading goal scorer Besser along with Demko due to injuries could have been the difference in the 7-game series. The Oilers luckily have Connor McDavid, who some argue is the best player in all of hockey. The Oilers had more resilience in this one to push it to Game 7 and have taken a step forward, now moving past into the Western Conference Final.
All right, now moving to the Western Conference Final. It's been a long time coming for both these teams. The Dallas Stars last winning in '99. For the Oilers, it was their dynasty run back in the '90s. Now, who gets a shot at taking home the cup this time around?
This will definitely be the toughest series yet for both sides. The Oilers have not won a Stanley Cup since their dynasty back in the '80s, and with the likes of Connor McDavid and company, they have some pressure to finally execute before some changes might have to happen. The Stars have had much success in recent history, so it'll definitely be a battle of experienced players and experienced programs.
Absolutely. You can check the tapes. I've been calling this Edmonton Oilers team a team to look out for since January, but this series is when that run comes to an end. The Dallas Stars have the likes of Duchesne, Pavelski, Johnston, Sutrick, Petrovic. There's going to be too much to handle for a tired Edmonton team. I've got Dallas taking it in 6 games.
All right, so we made it through the semifinals, but now the finals. Who is raising Lord Stanley's Cup on center ice?
This is going to be one of the coolest Stanley Cup runs of all time. I think the Panthers-Rangers series is going to go to 7. Whoever comes out on top is going to take the Stars to 7 in that Stanley Cup series, but I'm going to go with my gut here. Florida Panthers are going to take it home. They've got the thirst. They've got the pep in their step and a little bit of edge to them. I'm taking the Panthers.
I have to disagree, Evan. I'm going to go with the Rangers. They haven't won in 30 years. They're overdue. The confidence they're playing with and the perseverance they've shown so far in the postseason makes them my pick.
All right, that's all the time we have to talk hockey. Evan, Mia, always a pleasure. But coming up next on The Hustle, we move to the diamond to check out who's been hitting the ball out of the yard. We'll be right back after this on The Hustle. Welcome back to The Hustle, and here to talk some baseball's best with me are the brilliant minds of Dan Heisey and Fred Shin. How are we doing, fellas?
Doing pretty well. I mean, everyone's talking NBA and NHL, but I'm ready for the season. It's going well.
Super excited to talk about some baseball today.
All right, now looking at a team I don't think anyone had on their radar, New York Yankees. What can you tell me about their hot start?
Yeah, so obviously they're being led offensively by Stanton, Judge, and Soto. Judge and Soto both have a top 5 OPS, and they're tops in the MLB in homers. This is just a case of the Yankees need to keep doing what they're doing. Their stars need to keep being the stars, and honestly, that's all there really is to it.
Right, the Yankees look really, really good, but the best part is Garrett Cole's not even back, and they got guys like Schmidt, and they got guys like Heel stepping up on the mound, and that's a really good start for them.
All right, now a surprise team in the East, the Cleveland Guardians. Don't think anyone expected them to do anything this season, but they're only a few games back of the Yankees. How have they done it?
The Guardians are looking great. They are looking surprising most of all. Going into the season, this isn't a team that you expect to be really, really good. But look, they come into the season and they lose their ace Shane Bieber, and they still come back and put up a great performance. You got guys like Jose Ramirez, Jimenez, and Naylor who are good for a home run every night. And you got pitchers stepping up in Bybee and Allen, and they're holding it down for them.
Yeah, I think the power is the biggest thing to talk about here. I mean, their offense was just dead last in OPS and slugging last year, so to get the offense that they have, that's really crucial for them.
All right, now switching over to the National League, we have to start with the red-hot Phillies. They just look unstoppable right now. What's the reasoning behind their success?
Yeah, so right now, you can just basically rinse and repeat with the Yankees. They're a top 5 team in the offense and in pitching. Harper, Castellanos, and Bohm have been leading this team, and Harper and Bohm both have an OPS over 900. They keep going. They're the best team in the MLB, and I see them staying that way.
Absolutely. Look, the Phillies are looking like they want to get their 2022 World Series back. They got 2 Cy Young pitchers in Ranger Suarez and Zach Wheeler, and you could even include Nola in there as well. They're looking great, and maybe they could get that run back of the 2022 World Series.
All right, now taking a look at one of the biggest payrolls in baseball, the Los Angeles Dodgers. Big money, big wins. What's the latest for our sunny side up Dodgers?
The Dodgers are looking dangerous. They have 2 MVP candidates in Betts and Ohtani, and they have another Cy Young candidate in Tyler Glasnow. Walker Buehler came back. He looked a little bit more comfortable, so the Dodgers are looking as dangerous as ever. Maybe they're not in the number 1, but still, they're looking like a World Series team, and they can only get better. They got reinforcements on the way.
Yeah, I think the scariest thing is that this team isn't even complete. I mean, they're missing Kershaw, Miller, and May in their rotation, and Ohtani isn't even pitching right now, and he's still hitting like an absolute world beater. So you really see this might just be the beginning of their peak.
And we can't have the good without having the bad. So let's take a look at the St. Louis Cardinals sitting in the middle of the pack in the National League. Is this expected from the Cardinals, or are they underperforming?
Yeah, so honestly, this is just a continuation of last year. Goldschmidt absolutely looks like a shell of himself, and Arenado hasn't been doing too well either. I mean, they have a combined 7 home runs, and some of the young guys are playing well, but if this continues like this for their 2 main guys, it might be time to sell at the deadline for them.
Right, and St. Louis decided to make those decisions to get Sonny Gray, to get Lance Lynn, but that's not really cutting it for them. And they got this old bullpen that's not going out there and giving them quality innings, and that's why, on top of the hitting, things aren't working for them.
All right, now you can't have the Yankees at the top of the AL East without the Red Sox somewhere in the mix. And the Red Sox haven't had great expectations this season, but they've been playing well lately. So what's fueled them so far?
Right, what's fueled them so far is Rafael Devers' home run streak. 6 games breaking the Red Sox record of most home runs in a row. So the bat right there, when you have a bat like that could go out there and win you games, that's dangerous. But it's also the pitching. Who expected Houck to be this good? Who expected Cutter Crawford to be this good? The Red Sox started slow, but it's a long season, and they could come back and make some noise.
And this is also a team that is dealing with injuries, and Casas and Yoshida and Trevor Story being out, and Whitlock. So I really see this team is good right now. If they get those guys back, they're maybe a wild card team.
All right, Dan, Fred, thank you for talking baseball with me, but don't go anywhere because coming up next, we're bringing Jared McCabe back with his coaching clipboard, and he's going to bring up the top hustle plays. So stay with us on The Hustle.
The Hustle is brought to you by Goodfellas Pizzeria, established in 1999.
Welcome back to The Hustle. Here for our final act, we brought Jared McCabe out of a hat to bring us your top hustle plays, and what better place to start than Mr. Inevitable himself, Scotty Scheffler.
Imagine going into one of the biggest tournaments not named the Masters, and this is you at 5 a.m. Just trying to get to his practice round. Obviously, that a family lost their lives, so obviously prayers out to the family. But like, he's in a jail cell doing his warm-ups, doing all to get ready, and he still makes it to his tee time for 10:15. And then what does he do? He does the Scotty Scheffler things that we're used to seeing him do on this consistent winning streak that he's done. Shoot 6 under at the PGA. Obviously, did not end up winning. Xander Schauffele did, but it just shows just the mentality that this guy has, how locked in he is. Overall, what a great round for Scotty Scheffler at the PGA Championship.
That's definitely a choice of all time to get arrested, go play some golf. Who doesn't want to do that?
Exactly.
All right, moving on to our next play, we go to the ice for the Rangers and the Hurricanes and a hero. Jared?
Yeah, like Evan Cormier said, like maybe just maybe this will help the New York Rangers, because what Chris Kreider did in the third period was absolutely insane. They should have lost this game. Should have gone back to Madison Square Garden for a Game 7, but he has a natural hat trick in the third period. And if the Rangers go on to win the Stanley Cup, this is going to be the moment that every fan's going to remember. You're going to see his number up in the rafters at Madison Square Garden, because he literally is going to basically hold every New York Ranger record. It's going to be a great moment for them if they go on to win the Stanley Cup. But overall, just what a moment for Chris Kreider.
I know I was rooting for the 3-0 comeback for the Hurricanes there, but Chris
Kreider
had other plans. Rangers ice this series, and they get a date with the Florida Panthers in the next round. Moving on to our next play, we have Rafael Devers, Carita, Babyface, whatever you want to call it, doing something that only a few Red Sox players in history have done. Jared?
You're a Red Sox fan, so I'm sure you've been really happy to see this. Just constant home run after home run, like 4 straight. I just picked the 4 because these were the ones that kind of were just like what really started to whole streak in the hole. Like that's in St. Louis to right center field. Like that's a massive home run. And he's going to be a guy with the Red Sox that are kind of struggling right now. He's going to try to get them a little bit back on track, especially in a tough AL East when the Yankees are really basically running away with it right now.
I know I'm going to be glued to the screen every time he comes up at bat to just see how far the streak can go. Moving on to our next play here. It's a little different. We got George Kittle, Brock Purdy, and Luke Combs. That can't be right. Jared?
Yeah, this is Luke Combs. So if you've ever seen, have you had one, two, any penny?
Of course.
Exactly, but this is just what the 49ers fans expected. You go to a Luke Combs concert, you're gonna have a concert at an NFL stadium. This is the boys, just shotgun and beers left and right with Luke Combs. Who wouldn't want to do that? This is a hustle play, so come on. This is what, if you're a 49ers fan and you're a Luke Combs fan at this concert, you'd be really happy, really excited to see that. So what a moment for those two.
Brock Purdy looks like a dad at a barbecue. George Kittle, just the fun uncle there. Love to see the Niners having some fun on stage with Luke Combs. Time for our final play of the day. Tyreek Hill getting burned at summer camp, and I'm not talking about a sunburn. Jared?
This is his own camp. This is John. He's 8 years old. This is in Miami at Tyreek Hill's camp, and just look at what he did to him. And this is not the first time this has happened either. This has happened multiple times if he's playing DB or if he's going up against other kids, going up one-on-one. Like, that's kind of embarrassing. That's kind of tough. But hey, good for Josh. Good for the kid. Burned Tyreek Hill, one of his idols. So pretty cool moment.
Yeah, Jared, I think there is a reason that Tyreek Hill is on the offensive side of the ball, and that young man just showed us why. All right, that is going to be a curtain call for us here on The Hustle. We hope you enjoyed watching for as much fun as we had making. For Jared McCabe, Ryan DeFranzo, Mia Santinelli, Evan Cormier, Dan Heisey, and Fred Shin, we want to thank you all for tuning in for the season on The Hustle. Thank you for watching, and we hope to see you soon.